What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer, back from YCSLA, and I'm going to go over the deck that I actually ended up switching to last minute, and that is Invoked Dogmatika Spellbook. Tiny little Spellbook engine. And the deck definitely looks a little bit chaotic. I'll explain as I go along, and this is actually not the list I took with me to Los Angeles. This is the list that I made after I experienced the YCS. So, on to the first thing here is Parallel Exceed. Definitely one of my favorite techs of the weekend. I had gotten drolled and just like dimension shifter a bunch of times, so I never really got like a true way or game to flex on all of my tech cards, because unfortunately just playing like just drawing it every time. But there were definitely a few times just in testing, like the night before YCS, and obviously online is where I do most of my testing. This card has won me so many duels. Just the things you get off the top. There's so many good cards, in this deck that draw you 2 cards, or ritual summoning, or fusion summoning, or judgment. Like all the Spellbook engine, like your top deck is almost always something just crazy. So having this little Heat Soul package, can't be destroyed by card effects, is something that I think is like a really cool tech card. And I thought about running this at 2 and maybe playing a Blue Boy, but that's probably something I'll test later. But for now, I'm pretty happy because, all the hand traps can also just go into Almirage. So these are all kind of, access points to Heat Soul, which is pretty good. Yeah, Maximus, Fleur, and 3 Ecclesia. I don't think there's anything too surprising there. It's pretty standard stuff. 2 Aleister. So I do run, I guess, what would be considered a very bizarre ratio of Aleisters. But I think there is a point where you play too many. Like, you never really want to see, like, Aleister and another way to Aleister or another copy of itself, or even Invocation for that matter. I think if you're running 3 Aleister, 3 Magical Meltdown, and Terraforming, I think I would just see it too much, and it would just lose me duels straight up, right? Normal summon Aleister, Effect Veiler, you're done if you're investing too much into it. So I run 2 Meltdown because I run Terraforming, so it's basically like 3 copies, but I have a flex spot, for Secret Village of the Spellcasters. And this has like been the best card that I took with me to YCSLA. It was the best tech card. I had so many scoops from opponents. I played Runic Nat, and I ended up going to game 3. But yeah, he just scooped. I had Secret Village, and he's just like, okay, I can't play. So that's why I have this ratio. But I'm happy with 2 Aleister. I think obviously most people would think like 2 Invocation and like the full package is the right amount. But this is what works for me, and it's what I've been playing for like a really long time now. 1 copy of Jowgen, it's just this little Spellbook engine, but I've had a lot of times where I can clear their board without normal summoning, right, going second, and then I just normal summon this guy, and they just, like, lose, and they can't play anymore. So this card is not really something you want to see in your opening hand, but there aren't that many normal summons, literally just 1. So a lot of the times that you can just, you can normal summon this and stop your opponent, even though it's only 200 attack. Its effect has come up too, the discard to destroy all special summon monsters on the field. This card is a great little floodgate. It's like Barrier Statue, but just a tiny bit better. Because it doesn't, it's not one specific one. And it's not like the Light Barrier Statue. It's like your opponent literally can't special summon, which is very good against Cashier. If they don't open like Birth specifically, they're pretty much done for. Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, Droll. So yeah, this is the card that killed me during the whole YCS, and I played Math Met, Cashier, and Runic. I'm pretty sure all of them ended up having like Droll and Lockbird in their opening, and I just like could not play. But thinking more and more about it, this is like the perfect tech card for the format. It hits Runic Nat super duper hard. If they have to search the field spell, which most of the time they do, and then they just add the field spell to hand and draw them, you're really off to the races at that point. So I definitely, this used to be super poly. I've changed it to Droll. 1, it's a spellcaster, so if you're like in an emergency, Spellbook of Knowledge can be used. It's a normal summon that can go into Almirage, which works really well with Parallel Exceed. I'm very happy that I switched this out, and I wish that I had brought this with me to YCS instead of the super polys for sure. 3, Effect Veiler. So again, this is another spellcaster, which makes a big difference, and that's really why I play that. It's a light spellcaster. You can normal summon it, go into Almirage again. All those things. You want to play, actual hand traps. Plus, the other thing is if you are playing Heat Soul, you want to be able to use whatever you can off the top. And these are the 3 most impactful monster, going second cards that you can really use. Like, other than Nibiru, but, you probably don't want to Nibiru your own field. You want to have something that can, like, just straight up interact with your opponent. Albazoa. So this card's super amazing. I play tested this a ton during the night before YCS, and it's incredible, right? You're forcing your opponent to get rid of half their extra deck, +1, and then, you know, if you have Maximus 2 to get there in the first place, your opponent's just going to have 2 left, right? Your opponent's going to have 6, 7 cards in their extra deck going into their first turn. It's unaffected by extra deck monsters, even if they come back from the graveyard, which is really incredible. This is really the reason why the deck is playable. White Knight's okay, but this is on a whole different level. This is like the perfect card against Dynamorphia. I literally played no Rogue when I went to YCS, which is a bit unfortunate because I think I would have had, you know, obviously a much better chance to win a few more games than I did. But yeah, even against some of the top decks, if they don't open these like super crazy hand traps, you know, you can do some pretty wild stuff on your first turn. Like a very unique, right? You're not like putting up 1,000 negates. You're just like destroying your opponent's resources before they even get a chance to go at it. Dogmatika Matrix, this card's incredible, right? This is such a good going second card. Your opponent stops all of your plays, your parallels, and, you know, and your Aleister the Invokers. And then you just like special summon Ecclesia, search, and then you get both Albazoa and the ritual monster, or the ritual spell. Or you can grab like Albazoa and Maximus and also get the ritual spell by sending Herald, and then you get to send one more card. Maybe you can get Fleur. It's absurd how amazing. And going first is pretty cool too, right? If you're only one spell away, you could straight up search Dogmatika, you know, Calamity with Ecclesia, but if you search this first, then you just get to rip one more card out of your opponent's extra deck or your own, right? If you go through your plays, you had to use Nadir Servant. A lot of the times, you know, your power play for sure is App Cologne to make Winda. So this card can also be used to do that. This also gives your opponent, you know, gives you information on what your opponent's playing. It helps you be so much more prepared for what you're about to see in Windy's Interruption. It's so good. Nadir Servant, such a good card. Love it, love it. 2 Spellbook of Knowledge, 3 Spellbook of Secrets, and then I do run 1 Fate, and then obviously you have to run 1 Judgments Limited. Now, again, these are kind of like, this is kind of a strange ratio, but I was running Knowledge at 3 for a long time, and I would end up drawing into Knowledge off of it, and that was like super just like not good. Like, I'd rather essentially guarantee that my draw 2 is not going to be another copy of like any other Spellbook card, really, other than like maybe Fate. And I was like, I'm pretty satisfied with running this at 2. Now, this is the gateway to like all of your spells, obviously, so you're going to run this at 3. Probably the correct choice is to run 2 Fate, but hand traps are so prevalent in this format that I'm willing to sacrifice a Fate if I can get another called by the grave. Like, this card also doesn't inherently do anything by itself, which is definitely a big issue. This is like a super small package, but like if you open like a bunch of spells and you can like go for judgment plays, your opponent loses. Like Jowgen's like actually insane, and it just gives you a ton of follow-up. You know, it gives you disruption, it gives you a draw 2. All of those things are very good. You know, this was an incredible card again during playtesting. You know, unfortunately, opponents just open up Droll and Shifter every game, so I never really got a chance to showcase those parts of the decks. Talked about Terraforming, talked about Called By. 2 Magical Meltdown, I kind of talked about that. Secret Village of the Spellcasters was just so amazing. Runic Nat Scoops, straight up. You know, Kashtira has so many spell cards, like Pot of Prosperity to keep going. Like, this was the one card that when I was playing decks, like, you know, they can see me, I'm playing Invoked Dogmatic. They're like, oh, okay, this guy's not really playing for real, basically. And when I activated this, they kind of like, oh, okay, that's not good. So I can't recommend this card enough right now. Especially going second cards like, you know, Lightning Storm and Thrust. All of these cards just are completely stopped in their tracks. Shaddoll Schism is obviously there for Winda. On to the extra deck. So I run 5-headed dragon, right? That's to summon Albazoa. Hopefully in the future there's like something that you can actually send. Like, for real, there isn't a card that you can use other than like 5-headed dragon. I think there's one other one, but this is a dark, first of all. So that's super important if you want to go into Winda and you can only send Apcolon by itself and you want to send something else like Herald of the Arclight, but you need a dark in graveyard. 5-headed dragon kind of has that covered. It's yeah, it is what it is. Also, it's like kind of cool card. Macabre, it's a very small invoke package. It's Macabre and Ogdotes. I don't know how to say this stupid card, but I'm not running any of the other ones. I don't think they're like super necessary. I've never really gone too far into my game. Like it's kind of like it's not super blowout type of deck, but I don't know. Like I've never need the fire one to get over a bunch of stuff. Oh, I also do run Invoked Raijin, right? Because I play the parallel package, and this is like the perfect card to protect Jowgen. Your opponent essentially can't do anything at that point. Unless they have like Book of Moon or Dark Ruler, obviously. But any conventional, like, oh, I'm going to normal summon to get over this, which is probably like the most common out that anybody has to Jowgen. Like, they can't do that. So these 3 cards to me are like more than enough. I don't think you need to play any of the other ones. Titan-Clad, just really good to send to the graveyard. App Cologne is the same deal, right? App Cologne can search Schism, and then whatever dark you have in the graveyard, you can just use it to make Winda, which is a win condition almost by itself. Garua to draw 1, Nadir Servant to pop a card. Mud Dragon actually you can take out, so I'd never really thought about this because I forgot that I'd taken out Super Poly. So my recommendation, and definitely I'm happy to see that I actually have an extra deck slot, I totally missed that, is another Elder. You want to be able to pop cards multiple times, so that taking out Super Poly actually made a really big difference. I mean, really could probably take out Garua too, but I don't know. I wouldn't really recommend that, but this is to me the correct choice. When I've been going into games, I always wish I had another way to like pop a card on the field. I just didn't have the space before because of Super Poly, but now that slot's there, that definitely makes a big difference. Unless you want to send like Wind Pegasus, but that's probably not a bad option, to be honest with you. Maybe you make this a Wind Pegasus, but I'll probably do playtesting both ways and see. But I'm leaning towards this right now. Herald, right, to search either the Ritual Monster or the Ritual Spell. Heat Soul I've talked about, that goes along with Almirage, IP Masquerena, and Artemis, the Magistus Moon Maiden. Onto the side deck, and I'm actually like quite happy. This is a side deck that I feel like, normally I'm like, yeah, it's whatever in the side deck, but this is the one, you know, after YCS that I wish, like, this is what I brought with me. 3 Nibiru, Artifact Lancey obviously is against Cash. It's pretty good against Runic, sort of. Book of Eclipse, right? Just so many. These are the 3 Cash cards because that's like the most represented deck, of course. Twin Twisters, like this is like really good, I think, against Labyrinth because they're going to try to go for Epidemic Virus, thinking you have Lightning Storm and Harpy's Feather Duster, which you do, but Twin Twisters is so good, right? Because then they probably only have 3 most likely set cards, so when they, you know, do Epidemic, they're losing one of their big bodies, and then you can also pop 2 cards in the back row before they really get a chance to use them, right? Because they're so reactionary cards like Compulsory Evacuation or Punishment. If you hit Big Welcome, like that's fine too, you know, it's like it is what it is, but you know, it's really the only answer I think for Epidemic Virus. And then Evenly Match is also like an alternate thing, right? They're going to call spells, so Evenly Match is going to be really good in that regard. Let's go ahead and jump over to a few replays here. Just has a little bonus. Like this is like the newest list. So this is against Cash. Very good opening, of course. This is like post-sighting. But yeah, I mean, this is, you know, hand trap protected unless my opponent, like, you know, ashes or imperms the Aleister, which most of the time it's used, you know, primarily as a way to do that. Or you kind of, you know, get protection for the rest of your turn, especially against something like Nibiru, which I think is pretty common. Top deck a Nadir Servant off a Nadir Servant. What are you going to do? It's follow up for next turn. Can't be too mad. So I'm going to be able to get, you know, Khaleesi at the end of the turn, and then I can go for App Cologne to get Winda. So here comes Ecclesia, and the Ecclesia is going to grab Fleur. So Effect Veiler, essentially another Effect Veiler with extra steps and Fleur. Schism, and then my opponent cannot banish cards. He's going to go for Lava Golem. I'm going to go for Schism. And then no Lancia either. I don't think he plays that, you know, with his crossout targets. Another Lava Golem. He's going to special summon the Unicorn there. I'm going to go ahead and go for the Effect Veiler. And then he goes for Planet, but nothing too crazy here, right? He's going to have to punch himself into this Lava Golem, go into Fenrir to grab, I don't know, like a Rise Heart maybe, or follow-up. He's going to go for Unicorn, but I have a lot of follow-up too. You know, Aleister, Nadir Servant. So the Garua draw actually ended up not being that bad. And there's Ecclesia, so he banished the Schism, which is like fine, doesn't actually do anything anymore. It's only used for Winda, but I'm going to, you know, pop Fenrir, special summon, go for Matrix. Definitely playing under 5 summons. It's like my main goal, but I'm already like really close. I don't even know if I go for the Ritual, to be honest with you. I think I just special summon Maximus, no need to mess around. I know one card's Fenrir. Like, what's the other one? Battle Fader. And yeah, that was just enough for lethal. So pretty cool, you know, double Lava Golem. It's not enough. The interactivity of the deck is kind of spread like really thin, or not thin, but like through multiple parts, meaning like your opponent, like one Lava Golem probably like isn't enough to completely shut down what you're doing. It's going to hurt, of course, but you can usually work through that because you just have so many different other things that you can do. Terraforming, Meltdown with Nadir. Oh, and I already have the Ritual in hand. I'm going to be able to do some pretty crazy stuff here. So, normal summon, no response there. I'm playing Lab, that's right. Okay, so I'm going to go for Macabre. I think I knew I was playing Lab at this point. Maybe I shouldn't have decided to go first. I don't know. But here goes the Ritual. I'm not sure I'm going to use the effect of Zoa to send to the graveyard. Yeah, that's right. I knew this was going into game 2. I think I had stolen game 1. And then I think maybe I had gone first. I don't remember, but this was the last game. He's going to go for the names I'm telling you, and I knew when I read them. I don't think they're that good. If your opponent stops them, look at this. He's down to 3 cards, and all he has is Big Welcome Labyrinth. That's just not good. Here's Lava Golem again, so it's not really doing anything. Normal summon Aleister. I can go into Parallel Exceed, and this is certainly way, way, way more than enough for lethal. Invocation can go into Agadotes, and then I can banish 5-headed dragon. How cool is that? I love that interaction. I had to show that off, right? Agadotes can banish to grab, you know, become 7k, which is just such a cool random little interaction there. All right, let's see if I was going first or second when I stole this game. Jowgen's actually really, really, really good against Lab if they don't have skill drain. Like, their main avenue to get through things, right, is to special summon with Big Welcome Labyrinth. I'm going to get rid of the Jowgen here, though. I'm going to normal summon, or, you know, go for Magical Meltdown. Nothing going first, you know, here, but I did activate Judgment, so I get to grab a couple cards. So definitely just setting myself for next turn. Like, this isn't good, but again, we'll see what ends up happening. I was hoping he would go into Maximus. Like, that would give me a ton of advantage, but he's going to go for Garua to draw an extra card. He's going to grab Punishment. That's fine. So it's not like the, you know, even though I did pass turn, it's not like Lab does anything crazy, right? Their first turn and going second turn are like eerily similar, other than maybe Lava Goleming. There goes Big Welcome. I have another Ash for the next turn, unless he has like Big Welcome Labyrinth, but he's going to go for, there it is. Okay. So he has Silver Castle, gets to bounce Ecclesia to his hand. Very cool interaction. Surprised this deck isn't, you know, explored just a little bit more, especially with like Albazola running around. It's very good. But he's going to go for D-Barrier, which this card is so good because it doesn't target a card on the field. So when you activate it, your opponent's almost forced to be like, well, in the off chance this is what's used, I'm like kind of forced to like show at least a few of my cards. And you know, that was really the whole point. So I'm going to go ahead and banish one of the ones I don't know, which works out really, really well here. Now he's going to stop me from fusion summoning, but that's not the only mechanic that I use here. Also, he goes for summoning the Heavenly, so hopefully I can punish him, right? Because now his back row isn't protected. We'll see how that ends up working. I can go for IP Masquerena, which can go into Decode Talker Heat Soul. There we go. Now I can go into Elder and start popping more of his back row. And maybe this is the part where like having 2 Elder is like objectively the right choice. Matrix, he does control a monster, so that's going to help out a lot. I can also grab Maximus. I didn't even need to grab the Ritual spell because I still have access to it, which is so strong. But I'm going to send a couple. It's going to be Garua. It's going to be Herald. I'm going to draw a bunch of cards here. He goes to target Heat Soul, but yeah, I made it with IP. That is obviously the advantage there. I can go into the Ritual monster, snipe another card, ends up being like Baguska, which is like decent, I think, against my deck. But I can get over his 3k attack monster. The other one, this is a Dogmatika card, so this also goes to 4,500 attack, which is really good. So I was able to kind of like navigate my way around the board, which I thought was like kind of interesting against Lab, even though I didn't open up extremely strong. This is against, I think, Naturia Runic, which is like the deck, you know, performed incredibly well during all these recent events at YCS. Freezing Curses, and this is where I think Droll and Lockbird really shines, right? He only has 4 cards in hand, when I know one is Fountain. Camila doesn't really do anything, so that's always good. My hand's decent. Like, I can't go for Elder because he's protected by Hugin, so I'm in kind of a strange spot where I can, like, special summon, hope he, like, yeah, goes for curses. I still need to attack over this, right? I want to use Elder to, like, pop Fountain. He's going to draw a couple cards. I don't know how good that is. My top deck's into Camila, which must be nice, but I do have Called by the Grave. So I'm going to go ahead and special summon. He's going to try to revive. I'm going to get rid of the Mole Cricket, because the only thing I have to get rid of now is Sunflower. He definitely was going to bring up Mole Cricket to bring out too. I think that was for sure the right choice. Look at that. Add a card to your hand. This one discards a random one. Of course it ends up being Albazoa. But this is what I was talking about with Chowgan, where I don't, like, my opponent has to, like, normal summon basically Camila now. Or, like, I don't know how he, well, he's got a bunch of runic spells. It's not special summon. He only has 1. So it's got to be, like, I think it's Flashing Fire. He's going to pop Schism during the standby phase. It is what it is. That's a pretty good top deck. But I just don't think, like, his inability to special summon, I think, is going to be his downfall. Which is, like, you know, that's the game plan there. This is against Runic. I don't know if it's what variation. Pretty darn good hand. He's going to go for Curses. Is Curses the Effect Veiler one? I think it is. Yes. All right, so this is Runic Sprite. He's going to go for Starter there. Like, you know, pretty darn good start. I have no idea what I top deck. Hopefully something good. He's going to go for Jet. Jet's going to probably search Smashers. And then he's going to overlay for Gigantic, I'm sure. Special summoning, you know, your thing of choice. That's going to be Cap Shell. Cap Shell's going to draw him a card for being used as link material. Slumber is going to banish. Of course, it's Invocation. Give me a break, please. You know, there goes. And then he goes into Djinn Buster. Okay, so maybe like Unicorn with Djinn Buster. Activate Terraforming. I can go for a Secret Village of the Spellcasters, essentially locking him out of the duel here. He's going to try to search a few. I'm going to force out the Djinn Buster. And I've talked about how incredibly good like Dogmatika Matrix is. I'm going to be able to get a bunch of cards. So the Ritual Monster, and then also probably Fleur. So just able to bait out like just pretty much everything, you know, right off the bat. And the Ritual Monster is going to do so much work. You know, I can rip a card out of his extra deck, you know, and then, you know, main phase 2, he's going to have to send 5 more, putting him down to very few, right? The answer to, like, cards, he's going to go down to 3. The answers to most things in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are found in the extra deck. So if your opponent just doesn't have an extra deck, like, what are they going to do? And plus now they're going to be locked at with Shadal Schism. It's definitely the best position I could have put myself in. Here's Lava Column again, but I do, like, have Schism, assuming that these 3 cards in his extra deck are just, like, absolutely crazy, which they probably aren't. In fact, like, they're probably... Oh, he doesn't play the 3 to, like, at least send something? That's a little awkward, but that's what I was talking... Like, it's not traditional. This is, like, a super untraditional deck. This is against Sprite. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, Droll is pretty good. Jowgen. This is good if I'm going first. And, like, Droll would have to put in a lot of work, which sometimes it can. He's going to go for Imperm. That's fine, right? I can just search essentially everything that I need. Matrix, which, you know, Dogmatika Ecclesia is way more impactful than Aleister the Invoker. Way more. It does so many crazy things. So we'll go ahead here. I'm going to special summon. Goodbye to, you know, most of the cards in your extra deck. And then I can also send Schism, you know, dumping Jowgen. It's not going to do anything. Plus Droll is backup. Should probably be pretty good. He's got to have some very specific answers. He's going to draw a card. He's going to go for Emergency Teleport. And then he's going to chain Starter. He did draw a card. And he's only going to be able to special summon one of those things. So kind of a waste in the chain there. He's going to Book of Moon. He's not working with a bunch of his extra decks, so we'll see what ends up happening here. Sprint is going to be one of those cards. I think he's going to try to bring back the Scissor card to, you know, pop the card on the field. It's only unaffected by extra deck monsters. And then he's going to end up passing turn there with Psyframe. He does get over the Winda, which is, you know, a bit unfortunate. But let's see what I can end up doing here. I still have Matrix. Secrets is okay, and this is kind of why I want a Blue Boy, right? I can normal summon Blue Boy and then search, and that's kind of like a little bit better. I'm going to pop all of his extra deck monsters, right? And then he has to send, you know, even more. He's going to send 2 more to the graveyard, meaning he's just going to run out of like things to do. And obviously the Sprite monsters are like tiny little monsters. They're not going to be able to really attack over anything. But yeah, I think this duel was kind of like, man, I think I need to play like 1 copy of Blue Boy somewhere. Let's go into Trap Tricks, which it really like has a pretty good matchup against. That last card is like what makes a huge difference here. Normal summon Aleister, the tale as old as time. He did have the Ash there, but I have double hand trap, so I feel okay about not dying. And when you have Parallel Exceed to kind of get, you know, you're gonna get 2 more cards, it does make you feel a little bit better. Maybe I can get like something good off the top. It's Meltdown, so it's just gonna end up being follow-up, but at least I get to draw 1 more card during my opponent's turn, and hopefully that's enough to like keep me alive, because I do have some like okay follow-up here. It's Secrets, so that's more follow-up for next turn. He's gonna go for a Whacky, but that's not how that works, you know. Heat Soul is protected by IP Masquerena. He's gonna go for Sarah. All right, let's see what ends up happening here. Secret Village, I'm gonna draw 1 more. So at this point, like my advantage is kind of just growing more and more. You never want to trigger Sarah, although I like don't read. Reading is very hard. So Garden protects it from battle once. Normal summon Aleister, he's going to go for Trap Hole. I have the Ash Blossom, so this isn't actually going to do anything at all. It's not going to trigger any effects here, but, you know, draw a couple cards. I'm going to go for Ecclesia here, and then I can search Matrix. I already have the Ritual card in hand, so I can just, yeah, like, here's the end of the game when you get rid of like your whole extra deck. All I have to really do is use Matrix to send Nadir, and then I can just pop Sarah. That way he has to actually send. Otherwise, he can just bring everything back. And there we go. Maximus is going to send 2 more. See you later. And now Schism. Schism just like kind of destroys Trap Tricks. They don't really do anything under Winda, like at all. And I can go for They don't have any like I mean, they kind of do have in-house, right? The like Trap Hole cards, but if they can't activate it that turn, they are in a very, very bad spot. He top decks Ash Blossom, that's fine. You know, it's just nothing much there. Here's another game against Kashtira. Very, very good opening. So I can go for Magical Meltdown. Matrix doesn't lock you into the when you activate it, does not lock you out of the extra deck, which is kind of cool. I think you kind of have to Ash Prosperity. Cash does have like a weird kind of bricking problem. A little bit of an underrated one, in my opinion. Not, like most of it, like 90% of that problem is fixed by Prosperity. But, you know, if you can stop that, you've done some pretty cool stuff. I'm going to go for Matrix, right, to search a card. Just on the off chance that I can find Invocation off the top. I think that's just a little bit better. It ends up being Parallel. Yeah, so just not great. Not great. But I do have double Effect Veiler, so that's got to be worth some, you know, something. We're both bricking. He's going to passing turn. Okay. Activate Magical Meltdown. Go for another Aleister. Let's try this again. This time I do have the answer for with Called by the Grave. I do want to, you know, use that effect for sure. I want to be able to go into Macabre. Parallel Exceed is also going to draw me an extra card right off of Heat Soul. And now I'm kind of off to the races here. Turn those into IP Masquerena, Invocation, Macabre. And there comes Heat Soul. So the top deck of Maximus, like I said, that you're like your top deck is always just going to be pretty clean. And get a couple cards, right? Just a little bit of follow with Schism in the worst case scenario, and then I can grab Calamity. Calamity can special summon, and that's going to be more than enough for lethal. It's 4K attack. Last thing I'll show after this, I think, is a match I had against Sword Soul. Not the worst matchup in the world, really. Vashoot is a little bit awkward, but if you have Winda, then they kind of just like can't do anything like about it. Again, everything comes to draw the out. Like there's definitely outs to these things, but if my opponent's win condition against me is to like literally they have to draw specific going second cards that aren't searchable, then I feel pretty good. This is an incredible opening. It's about pretty much as good as it gets. I think, like, if I could handpick it, I think this is probably what we do. There goes Ash on Aleister. Again, it's just kind of a hand trap magnet. The most low impact of all the engines. He has Imperm as well. I'm going to go ahead and protect there. That way I can get something in the graveyard for Maximus. So that's going to work out pretty well. So Maximus can special summon. I can send Herald and probably App Cologne. I want to say that I do. Oh, what else did I send to oh, okay. I'm playing it safe. I'm going into Titanclad. I think that's more than fair enough. But yeah, I mean, the Sword Soul extra deck, like, they kind of do need a lot of the cards there. But, oh, I had the extra sent to the graveyard, so that's why I ended up going, like, using Matrix to send App Cologne. App Cologne is just super detrimental to them, like I talked about. He's going to main phase 1, battle phase. There goes Evenly Matched, but Schism is a good card. Top deck Magical Meltdown. In simplified game states, Aleister is so good. In complicated ones, it's bad. It's kind of funny. But, you know, Invocation. I can just banish this and make my Ogdoades a, you know, 7,000 attack. Banishing. It's so cool. What a great finisher. Really underrated kind of little thing that you can do with this deck. And just one more. Aleister Terraforming. Oh, so good. Jowgen's obviously always unfortunate, but I can grab Secret Village of the Spellcasters, and that's like a lot of really powerful Sword Soul cards. You know, like, first of all, Book of Moon is very popular right now. There goes Imperm. Okay. And this is why I like Paralytic so much, and I think is like makes it so necessary. It's just all of these, right? Just like helps me continue to play. I'm going to draw a card, right, just in case I find Invocation off the top. It doesn't really matter, right? If you search one Dogmatika card is every Dogmatika card with Ecclesia, so I can go ahead and, you know, occupy both of those zones. I can go for App Cologne. I can, you know, just get a free card for the Ritual Summon. I don't need Jowgen in hand. And Secret Village is going to come down. Probably should have... Oh, no, okay, yeah. Yep, I have Schism, and I can draw an extra card. It ends up being Ash off the top. Like, that's... Heat Soul's so good. Here comes Schism, so he's going to special summon Long One by itself, and that is not going to do anything at all. So just kind of phase planning right in front of Winda. But yeah, that's my Invoked list. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Other than that's going to do it for today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.